Welcome to Sleepy Curiosity. Tonight, you'll travel back to England around 1300 and experience the quieter side of a medieval tournament through the eyes of a knight. A calm journey meant to help you relax and fall asleep. Darkness still rests over the castle when awareness returns quietly with the rhythm of your breathing. For several breaths, the faint movement of the blankets is the nearest sound, rising and settling with your chest. The chamber around you is almost silent. Cool air presses faintly through the edges of the closed wooden shutters, but beneath the wool blankets the bed remains warm. The linen sheet feels smooth and cool where it touches your hands. Somewhere beyond the curtains, the last trace of yesterday's hearth has faded into ashes, leaving only the familiar scents of old smoke, wool, beeswax, and damp timber. The wool carries a dry, comforting warmth, while the cooler linen keeps the memory of the night air. From somewhere beyond the chamber, a bell sounds in the distance. It is not loud enough to startle you. The single note crosses the sleeping buildings, softened by stone walls and closed doors, then slowly disappears. No clock stands beside your bed. The hour is known instead by bells, by the growing light, and by the first movements of servants beginning their work. For a little longer, stillness is enough. You are not sleeping in your own manner tonight, but in a guest chamber belonging to the household that hosts the tournament. The room is comfortable without being grand. Its walls have been plastered rather than left as bare stone, and a hanging textile behind the bed helps keep away the cold. A painted border, barely visible in the darkness, runs beneath the ceiling beams. The hanging cloth barely stirs, and the painted line above it seems to float in the dimness. Your wooden bed stands upon a frame, supported by ropes or narrow slats. Beneath you lies a thick mattress, filled with wool and softer material, covered by linen and several woolen blankets. The curtains surrounding the bed are partly drawn, creating a small, sheltered space within the larger room. When you shift, the ropes answer with a low, familiar creak that quickly fades. Beyond them, your belongings wait where they were placed the night before. Your sword rests close at hand. Its belt has been coiled neatly upon the lid of a heavy chest, together with your purse and a small knife. Clothing, letters, coins, and other valuables remain secured inside the chest. A candle has burned low in its metal holder, leaving hardened ridges of wax around the socket. The metal fittings on the chest hold a trace of cold, and the extinguished wick gives off the faintest bitter scent beneath the beeswax. A quiet breath comes from elsewhere in the room. Your squire sleeps nearby on a smaller pallet, close enough to hear when you wake. His boots stand upside down beside the wall so that the damp leather may dry. He has been careful not to place them near the fading hearth, where too much heat could stiffen or crack them. Outside, a horse shifts somewhere in the stable yard. You hear the muted scrape of a hoof and the low wooden creak of a stall. Farther away, a watchman crosses the courtyard. His footsteps pass slowly over stone, steady for several moments, before fading beneath an archway. Somewhere nearer, a drop of water falls from an eave into the courtyard and is lost in the quiet. You move one shoulder, and feel the stiffness left by yesterday's journey. Your lower back is tight, and your hips resist slightly when you stretch your legs beneath the blankets. The discomfort is familiar rather than troubling. Travel always settles into the body during the night. After a while, the bell sounds once more. Across the room, your squire stirs. Bedding rustles softly. He sits up without speaking and waits for a moment, listening as you do to the castle, beginning to wake. Then he rises, crosses the uneven floor, and lifts the wooden bar from one shutter. Grey morning light enters the chamber in a narrow line. Dust and the thinnest thread of smoke become visible within it, drifting almost too slowly to notice. As the grey light widens, a servant approaches behind him with a ewer and basin. The servant enters with careful steps, holding the ewer in one hand and a shallow basin in the other. Your squire takes both from him and sets them upon the small table near the window, where the first grey light now gathers across the wood. The water shifts gently inside the ewer, making a small hollow sound with each step. You push aside the blankets and sit upon the edge of the bed. The chamber air meets you at once, cool against your face and hands. For a moment, you remain there with your feet resting upon a woven mat, allowing the stiffness in your back and shoulders to ease. Then you stand, and your squire draws the bed curtain farther aside. Water pours from the ewer in a clear, narrow stream. It strikes the basin with a soft ringing sound. The water has not been warmed, and when you dip your hands into it, the cold reaches quickly into your fingers. You raise the water to your face, pressing it across your cheeks and brow, until the last heaviness of sleep begins to fade. A few droplets touch the tabletop, bright and round in the growing light. A folded cloth lies beside the basin. You use it to wipe your face and neck, then rinse your mouth. Customs differ from household to household, but a man of your standing may clean his teeth with a damp cloth. A little salt, herbs, or a small piece of wood prepared for the purpose. This morning, the cloth and water are enough. When you have finished, your squire offers a towel. The linen is clean, but coarser than the fabric you wear closest to the skin. You dry your hands slowly, then sit again while he brings a comb through your hair. A small polished metal mirror catches the weak light, showing only a dim reflection as you smooth your beard and check that no trace of the road remains upon your face. The comb catches once, then moves smoothly again, its teeth making a quiet sound through your hair. Your night linen is replaced with a fresh shirt and clean braids. The new linen feels cool as it settles over your skin. It will absorb sweat later beneath wool, padding, and armour, protecting the more costly garments worn above it. It smells faintly of clean cloth and the wooden chest in which it has been kept. For now, however, you dress only for the quiet hours of morning. Your hose are drawn into place and secured. Over the linen, you put on a woolen coat, warm enough for the chill passages beyond the chamber. Your belt is fastened around your waist, and your purse and knife are returned to their familiar places. On the nearby table, your squire lights a fresh candle from a small flame brought by the servant. Its beeswax gives a mild, clean scent as your squire lifts it from the table. Wax candles are costly, but in a prosperous household, they may be used in guest chambers and especially near places of worship. The flame bends slightly when the chamber door opens. With the candle sheltered in your squire's hand, you step into the passage. Stone holds the night's cold, and your footsteps remain muted beneath soft leather soles. Other doors are beginning to open. Servants pass carrying cloths, vessels, and baskets, speaking only in low voices. The passage carries the mingled scents of wax, damp plaster, and breakfast fires newly stirred to life. Only a short distance away, the chapel waits in deeper quiet. Inside, several candles burn before the altar, their light resting upon painted plaster and polished metal. You bow your head. A priest murmurs Latin words in the still air, while those gathered answer quietly. The air is cooler inside, and every small movement, a sleeve brushing cloth, a shoe shifting on the floor, seems softened by the enclosed space. The familiar prayer passes briefly through the stillness. When you rise again and turn toward the passage, a warmer scent has begun to drift through the household. Fresh bread, rising from somewhere beyond the courtyard. The scent of bread grows stronger as you follow the passage away from the chapel. A servant carrying a basket passes beneath an arch ahead of you, and for a moment the warm smell of the loaves mingles with candle wax and the cool stone air. Your squire walks a pace behind, the small flame in his hand no longer needed where daylight reaches through the narrow openings. Heat still rests inside the bread, carrying the gentle scent of grain and the darker fragrance of the baked crust. The lower part of the great hall is already awake. Trestle tables stand upon the floor, and a few guests have taken their places on benches. Servants move quietly between the hall, pantry, buttery, and kitchen, carrying wooden bowls, cups, and covered dishes. Their work is steady, but unhurried, shaped by routines practiced each morning. Wooden cups touch the tables with muted knocks, and somewhere near the kitchen passage, a spoon circles slowly against the side of a pot. Before sitting, you hold your hands above a basin while a servant pours water from a ewer. You rub your fingers together and dry them on the cloth offered beside it. Clean hands are expected before food, particularly in a household of this standing. What is set before you is modest. A piece of fresh bread is placed before you, its crust firm and warm beneath your fingers. There is cheese, pale and slightly crumbly, and a soft cooked egg. A small bowl contains thin pottage, still giving off a little steam. You take only enough to prepare yourself for the work ahead. Steam carries the plain, warm smell of grain, while the cheese leaves a faint saltiness upon your fingers. A heavy meal would sit poorly beneath padded clothing and mail. Your own eating knife hangs from your belt. You draw it to cut the bread and cheese, then rest the blade beside your bowl. Spoons are provided for the pottage, but no forks are set upon the table. Hands, knives, and spoons are sufficient for the food served here. Your squire eats nearby, though he remains attentive to the room and to every message that may arrive. You break the bread slowly and dip a small piece into the pottage. Its warmth reaches your fingertips before you lift it to your mouth. The crust gives a soft crack as you break it, followed by the quieter sound of the crumb yielding beneath your thumb. Beyond the tables, the rest of the household continues to gather. Carts roll faintly somewhere outside. Hooves strike stone in the courtyard. First one horse, and then another. The sounds are softened by the walls, but they reveal how much of the castle has already begun its day. Meanwhile, pale light gathers in the high windows. It is brighter now, though the sun remains hidden behind broken cloud. A little moisture clings to the window opening, and the air that moves through it carries the smell of wet earth. The ground beyond the buildings will still be damp from dew. The breeze is cool enough to be felt along your cheek whenever it reaches through the opening. You speak quietly with your squire about the weather. He has heard that the meadow is soft in the shaded places. Yesterday's cart ruts have not dried completely, and the ropes around the temporary field are wet enough to darken their fibres. A light wind comes from the west, moving the banners without pulling hard against their poles. Even before you see the field, you can imagine the damp fibres of the ropes and the soft give of turf beneath a hoof. Each of these small details matters. Damp grass may cause a horse to shorten its stride. Mud gathered near a turning place can alter the safest line. Even the direction of the pale morning sun may affect what you see as you ride. You finish the bread and take a measured drink of ale, enough to clear the last taste of pottage without leaving you heavy or warm. Before you can rise, a groom appears at the edge of the hall. He bows and waits until you look toward him. Your horse has eaten well, he reports. Its legs are cool, its back shows no soreness, and the shoes remain firm. The ground outside the stable is damp, but the animal is moving freely. You place your knife back in its sheath and stand. Together, you leave the table and cross toward the courtyard, where the morning air and the waiting stable lie beyond the open door. The courtyard air feels sharper after the warmth of the hall. It carries the clean mineral smell of wet stone, mixed with distant wood smoke, and the green scent of the damp morning. You cross the damp stones beside your squire, passing servants with baskets, and a boy carrying a bundle of fresh straw. Above you, the sky remains pale and broken with cloud. Water still gathers in the joints between the paving stones, and the hem of your woolen coat darkens slightly where it brushes against the moisture. Ahead, the stable doors stand open. Warmth reaches you before you step inside. It is the close, living warmth of animals, hay, leather, and breath. The smell is strong, but familiar. Oats, clean straw, horse sweat, and the sharper scent of the stalls. Hooves shift against timber, and somewhere deeper within the building, a horse chews steadily. The air is filled with the soft rustle of straw and the steady, tearing sound of a horse eating hay. Inside, the groom leads you toward the stall. The animal waiting there is not an enormous cart horse, but a strong, athletic mount, carefully trained and valuable enough to deserve close attention. You travelled here on another horse, saving this one from unnecessary fatigue. It has been prepared for the noise, banners, armour, and sudden movement of a tournament field. At the sound of your approach, the horse turns its head. A few oat husks cling to its damp muzzle. Its ears move toward your voice, then relax again as you rest one hand against the warm curve of its neck. Beneath your palm, the skin twitches once before becoming still. Its nostrils widen gently as it recognizes your scent, and its whiskers brush the edge of your sleeve. The groom has already cleaned the stall and removed the soiled bedding. He has offered water, checked the horse's appetite, and brushed away the dust gathered during travel. The coat lies smooth beneath the morning light that enters through the open door. Fresh straw gives beneath his boots with a dry whisper. Standing beside him, you watch as he lifts the first hoof. The shoe is secure. No stone is caught beneath it, and the edge shows no dangerous looseness. Each hoof is examined in turn. Then the groom runs both hands carefully down the legs, feeling for heat, swelling, or tenderness. He finds no heat or tenderness. He presses gently along the horse's back where the saddle will rest. A small rub beneath the wrong part of the tack could become painful once the animal begins to work. The skin remains sound, and the horse does not flinch. A few steps away, the saddle rests upon a wooden support. The groom has inspected the girth, stirrup leathers, bridle, bit, and reins. He bends the leather between his fingers, looking for cracks where strain might cause it to fail. One rein is darker than the other, where it has been handled most often, but the stitching remains firm. You take the horse by the bridle and lead it a few steps into the aisle. The bit makes a small, bright sound as the animal mouths it, then falls quiet again. Its hooves sound softly against the floor. You watch the rhythm of its movement, listening for any uneven note, and feeling the light response through the rein. The animal walks freely, placing each foot with calm confidence. When you stop, it lowers its head and breathes against your sleeve. Moist warmth passes through the wool, carrying the grassy scent of its breath. The breath is warm. For a moment, you remain beside it while the stable settles into its gentle pattern of brushing, chewing, and quiet movement. After one final stroke along the neck, you return the rein to the groom. He will continue preparing the saddle and keep the horse rested until it is needed. Your squire is already waiting near the doorway. Beyond him, an armour chest stands open, and the padded garments have been laid out in careful order. The padded garments lie across a bench beside the open chest, arranged in the order your squire will need them. Cloth, leather, and metal each hold their own subdued scent in the cool room. You step into the preparation room, leaving the warmer stable air behind. Here, the light is clearer. A narrow opening admits the pale morning, and the metal fittings inside the chest catch it in small, dull reflections. Your squire begins with the hose, checking that the fabric sits smoothly and that the ties are secure. Over your linen shirt, he helps you into the padded accaton. The garment is thick enough to soften the pressure of what will follow, yet fitted closely so that it does not gather beneath the armour. Working from one fastening to the next, he draws the laces firm. The padding settles around your shoulders, chest, and arms. It is still cool from the room, though you know it will soon hold the warmth of your body. Your movements remain easy, but already more deliberate. The quilted layers make a faint brushing sound whenever you lift an arm. Once the padding sits smoothly, the leg defenses follow. Mail and reinforced pieces are fastened carefully, with the protection at the knees tied into position. Around the year 1300, plate is beginning to appear more often over vulnerable places, but no complete shell of articulated steel encloses you. Mail remains the foundation of your defense. With both hands, your squire lifts the hauberk. For a moment, the links hang together like a heavy grey cloth. You lower your head and raise your arms while he guides it over you. The mail slides across the padding with a soft metallic hiss. Cold at first, where it touches near your neck and wrists. Thousands of small rings shift against one another, first with a dry rustle, and then with a deeper metallic murmur as the garment descends. Its weight settles across your shoulders and upper body. Beneath it, the padding presses evenly against your ribs, and the cool links begin to take on the warmth of your body. It is substantial, but not crushing. Properly fitted armour allows you to walk, mount, bend, and rise. The difficulty lies less in helpless weight than in the slow gathering of heat, the pressure of straps, and the effort of carrying everything for hours. To test the fit, you roll one shoulder. The links shift and settle. Your squire smooths the mail beneath your arms, then fastens the coat of plates over it. Hidden metal plates strengthen the garment, while leather straps and buckles draw it close around your torso. Patiently, he checks each fastening twice. One strap near your side has troubled him before. He pulls it gently, examines the stitching, and adjusts the buckle until it lies flat against the padding. Nothing must twist or bite once you are mounted. The sword belt is arranged next, followed by your spurs. Then the surcoat is drawn over the armour. Its coloured cloth softens the grey of the mail and displays the device by which heralds and spectators may recognise you. For the moment, your gauntlets remain on the bench. The great helm also waits. It will not be worn while you stand here, for its narrow sight and muffled air would only tire you before the riding begins. Your shield leans against the wall, its wooden body covered, prepared, and painted for use rather than mere display. You flex your hands and take several steps across the room. Mail whispers with each movement. Leather creaks. The padded layers tighten and release as you turn. The sounds remain close to you. Metal, leather, cloth, forming a quiet rhythm with every measured step. Your squire circles you once more, pressing each buckle and testing every lace. At last, he places one hand upon the troublesome strap and gives a quiet nod. From beyond the walls comes the distant note of a horn. The sound is mellowed by timber and stone, lingering for a moment before the morning air absorbs it. You lift the shield by its straps and turn toward the open doorway, where pale light now leads out toward the tournament meadow. Pale light widens around you as you leave the preparation room and step beyond the shelter of the castle buildings. A breeze finds the edges of your surcoat and passes briefly across the warmth gathered beneath the mail. For several moments, your eyes adjust to the open morning. The meadow lies beyond the outer yard, reached by a broad track already marked with hoofprints, cartwheels, and the darker patches where damp earth has been pressed beneath many feet. Damp soil releases a dark, earthy fragrance wherever wheels and hooves have opened it. You walk slowly beneath the weight of mail and padding, your shield held close against your side. The air moves more freely here, reaching the warm places beneath your surcoat. Each step brings the quiet whisper of metal links and the creak of leather straps. Beyond the track, the tournament field spreads across uneven grass. It is not a permanent arena. Ropes and low wooden rails mark parts of the active ground, while carts, pavilions, and horse lines form temporary boundaries elsewhere. Simple timber platforms have been raised for the host and the most important guests. Many other spectators stand behind the ropes or gather upon a gentle slope where they can see without entering the field. Along its edges, dew still clings to the grass. It gathers along the lower cords of the pavilions and darkens the hems of servants carrying equipment between them. In the shaded hollows, the earth remains soft, though the higher ground is beginning to dry beneath the pale sun. Tiny drops gather upon the toes of your footwear and cool the lower edge of your clothing. Around the meadow, banners hang from tall poles. Some remain heavy with moisture, their cloth moving only when the breeze strengthens. Others lift enough to reveal the colours and devices of the households gathered here. Shields and surcoats repeat the same signs, allowing heralds to recognize men who may otherwise appear alike beneath mail and helmets. When the wind reaches them, the wet cloth answers with a slow, soft flutter rather than a sharp snap. As you approach, the colours upon your shield and surcoat draw the herald's notice. A herald stands near the entrance to the field, speaking with the marshals who control the movement of riders and attendants. He looks toward your shield, then toward the device upon your surcoat, confirming your place among those assembled. Nearby, the marshals keep the way clear. Servants carrying lances are directed toward the weapon racks. Grooms lead horses along a separate route, away from the thickest gathering of people. Musicians wait near the host's platform, their horns and pipes silent between signals, rather than sounding without pause. Before long, the groom brings your horse forward. The animal walks calmly, despite the shifting cloth, unfamiliar voices, and movement across the meadow. Its breath shows faintly in the cool air. You place a hand against its neck as it reaches you, feeling the steady warmth beneath the smooth coat. Its hoofbeats are cushioned by the damp ground, and its breath carries a faint mist that disappears almost at once. A short, measured horn call passes over the field. Conversation lowers. Riders and attendants turn toward the center, where a marshal delivers the rules and order of the gathering. The exact customs may differ from one tournament to another, but access to the ground, conduct with weapons, and the safety of fallen riders are matters of careful control. When the field has quieted, a cleric offers a brief blessing. You lower your head with the others. The wind moves softly through the banners while the prayer is spoken, and for a moment, even the horses seem quiet. Nearby, harness leather creaks as a horse shifts its weight. Then the field returns to attentive stillness. When the ceremony ends, the field begins to divide again into small groups. Earlier riders are guided toward their places. You move away from the center beside your horse, following your squire toward a shaded pavilion near the edge of the lists. There, beneath the gently stirring canvas, you settle into the long, quiet work of waiting. The canvas above you stirs whenever the wind crosses the meadow. Each movement sends a gentle ripple through the fabric and briefly changes the pattern of shade upon the grass. Its shadow softens the pale morning light, leaving the waiting place cooler than the open field beyond. Your horse stands beside you with one hind leg relaxed, breathing steadily, while the groom keeps a loose hold upon the bridle. Most of a tournament day is spent like this. The pauses allow smaller sounds to return. A rein sliding through a hand, a horse cropping at the grass, the low murmur of attendants beneath neighboring awnings. There is more waiting than riding, more checking than striking. Beyond the pavilion, another pair of knights moves toward the course. But from here, the sounds are softened by distance. Hoofbeats gather briefly, followed by the dull sound of wood meeting shield. Then the field settles again into voices, harness, and wind. Beside you, the great helm remains on the bench. There is no reason to carry its heat and narrow vision before you are called. Instead, you stand with your head uncovered, breathing the cool air and watching the ground where the earlier riders pass. Beyond the pavilion, the grass is drying unevenly. Pale sunlight has reached the center of the course, but darker patches remain near the edges. You notice where hooves have cut into the softer earth, and where a turn has churned the turf. These small changes may guide the line you choose later. Where the sun has reached it, the meadow begins to smell warmer and sweeter. Beneath the pavilion, it remains cool and damp. Your squire lifts the shield and examines its straps once more. He presses his thumb against the leather, checking where it passes behind your forearm. A loose fastening could twist at the moment of impact, while one drawn too tightly might numb the hand. Satisfied, he sets the shield within easy reach. At the horse's side, the groom checks the girth again. He slides his fingers beneath it, then walks around the horse to examine the saddle from the other side. The bridle lies evenly, and the bit rests without pinching the corners of the mouth. Your horse chews once, producing a quiet sound of metal and leather. After a while, a servant offers you water. You drink only a little. Too much would sit heavily beneath the padded layers, but the warmth building under the mail has already dried your mouth. You take a small piece of bread as well, chewing slowly while you watch another lance carried back from the field with a long crack along its shaft. The cup is cool against the gauntlet, and the water carries no flavour beyond its simple freshness. Your squire studies it before selecting one for you. He runs both hands along the wood, feeling for hidden splits and rough places. The lance must be sound, straight enough for control, and suitable for the rules declared that morning. When he is satisfied, he rests it upon the rack near the pavilion opening. Time passes in small, measured fragments. A herald calls another name. A horse is led out. Somewhere behind you, a buckle is tightened, and a quiet conversation ends. Your own breathing remains slow beneath the weight across your shoulders. Between the calls, you hear the canvas breathe above you, and the patient, even rhythm of your horse beside the pavilion. Eventually, a marshal approaches through the softened light. He speaks your name and heraldic identity clearly, giving the signal that your place is ready. At once, your squire lifts the great helm from the bench. With help from the groom and the stirrup, you mount without haste. The saddle settles beneath you, the horse shifting once before becoming still. With a final check of the straps, the helm is lowered into place. The open meadow narrows to a thin line of light, the horse beneath you, and the waiting course ahead. The rim settles against the padded support with a muted touch, and the open air becomes at once warmer and more distant. Inside the great helm, every sound becomes softer and more enclosed. The voices beyond the eye slit become distant and indistinct, while your own breathing seems close enough to fill the narrow space. The air is warmer here. Each breath carries the faint sense of leather, iron, and the padded cloth beneath the helmet. Your breath returns softly from the metal around you, and the leather lining holds the warm, familiar scent of earlier practice. Beneath you, the horse shifts its weight. You feel the movement through the saddle before you see it. One careful step, then another, guided into position by the groom. The reins lie firm in your hand. Against your other arm, the shield rests upon its straps, its painted surface turned toward the opposite end of the course. Through the narrow opening, you see fragments of the meadow. Drops of moisture still shine upon a few blades of grass, appearing and vanishing as the horse moves. There is damp grass, a pale strip of sky, and the other rider waiting at a distance. No permanent wooden barrier divides you. The route between the horses is marked by the ground itself and by the instructions of the marshals standing beyond the line of approach. From the edge of the course, your squire brings the lance. He raises the shaft carefully until you can take its weight. The wood is rough beneath your gauntlet. At first it stands almost upright, balanced against your hand and arm. Then, when the marshal steps away, you lower it gradually and settle it beneath your arm. The horse recognizes the familiar movement. Its ears turn forward. You close your legs gently against its sides, keeping the reins steady. At the signal, it moves into a controlled canter. At first, the hoofbeats remain separate and measured. You feel each one rise through the stirrups, saddle, and padded layers around your body. The horse gathers its stride. The sounds become quicker, joining into a rolling rhythm across the turf. Damp earth compresses beneath each stride. With a low, cushioned thud, your attention settles into the narrow view ahead. The spectators disappear. Even the marshals become little more than shapes beyond the slit. You see the approaching rider, the edge of his shield, the point at which the lance should meet its permitted target. A thread of cool air moves across the opening of the helm. The lance trembles slightly beneath your arm as the horse's stride lengthens. You keep it steady, adjusting with small movements rather than force. Your shield rises enough to protect the upper body while leaving you able to guide the horse. It arrives in brief, cool threads, touching your brow before disappearing into the enclosed warmth. For a brief moment, the other rider passes through the narrow frame of your view. wood meets the painted shield with a single solid sound. The impact travels through the lance, along your forearm, and into your shoulder. The shaft bends, vibrates, and glances away without breaking. Your body shifts in the saddle, but your knees and stirrups hold you centered. The sound is blunt rather than explosive, quickly carried away across the open meadow. A heartbeat later, the rider is already beyond you. The hoofbeats separate again. You lift the lance and guide your horse onward, allowing it room to slow before turning. Behind you, marshals and heralds consider the course. A clean strike does not always break a lance, nor must either rider fall for the encounter to be judged worthy. The rolling rhythm loosens into individual beats, and the horse's warm breath becomes audible beneath you. As the horse slows, its breathing becomes deeper beneath you. The groom reaches you first, taking the bridle, while your squire checks the shield straps and runs his hands over the lance. Padding has shifted slightly at your shoulder, and he presses it back into place before offering a fresh shaft. After the equipment is checked and the horse has settled, a second course follows. This time, the meeting is quieter. The opposing lance slides across your shield with a hard wooden scrape, while yours touches and passes without a full strike. When you return, the marshal gives the sign that your riding is complete. Once you are safely beneath the pavilion, your squire lifts the helm away. Cool air reaches your face at once, fresh and wide after the enclosed heat. You breathe deeply beneath the pavilion's shade as the field, the banners and the distant voices slowly return around you. It smells of grass, horse, damp earth, and the canvas shade, broad and clean after the close air of the helm. Cool air continues to move across your face, while the groom takes the bridle and leads the horse beneath the pavilion. Sweat cools slowly along your brow and beneath the edge of your hair. You remain in the saddle only long enough for the animal's first hurried breaths to begin slowing. Then you place one hand upon the pommel and dismount with your squire's assistance. Your boots settle into the grass, and the weight across your shoulders feels more noticeable now that the riding is finished. The groom walks the horse in a wide, unhurried circle. Each circuit leaves a darkened path in the grass where hooves press moisture from the turf. Its head lowers gradually as the excitement leaves its body. Darkened patches of sweat show beneath the saddle and along the neck, while its sides rise and fall in a steady rhythm. The groom watches the breathing closely, running a hand down each leg and checking the back for heat or soreness. He loosens the girth, but does not remove the saddle immediately. The horse continues walking until its breath becomes quieter. Only then is the tack lifted away. The groom examines the places where leather and cloth have rested, looking for rubbed skin or swelling, before covering the animal lightly and offering water with care. You stand beneath the canvas while your squire begins loosening your armour. As the first straps loosen, trapped warmth escapes in small waves, carrying the scents of wool, leather, and clean metal. The shield is taken first. He studies the straps behind it, bending the leather where the force of the lance passed through your arm. One fastening has stretched slightly, but remains sound. The painted surface bears a fresh mark, pale against the color beneath. Next, your gauntlets are eased away. Cooler air reaches your damp fingers. The coat of plates is unfastened enough to relieve the pressure around your chest, and the sword belt is loosened. Full removal can wait until you return inside, but even these small changes allow you to breathe more freely. Your squire gathers the lance pieces brought back from the field. Nothing useful is left scattered upon the grass. Unbroken shafts may be returned to their owners, while damaged wood, buckles and fittings are collected for inspection. He checks your mail for opened links and smooths the padding that shifted beneath your shoulder. When the first work is finished, a servant places food upon the small table. There is bread, cheese, a piece of cold poultry, and several late summer plums. A handful of nuts rests beside a small pastry, and a cup of water is offered before the ale. You eat slowly, taking only what your body asks for after the heat beneath the helm. The plums give off a sweet, ripe fragrance, and the pastry flakes softly when touched. Around you, the tournament continues without demanding your attention. Wind carries the sounds toward you and away again, so that each distant course seems to dissolve back into the afternoon. Distant hoofbeats cross the meadow. A herald calls another rider, and a brief murmur rises from the spectators before fading again. Much of the afternoon passes in resting, watching, and quiet conversation, rather than constant competition. The other knight from your course approaches beneath the pavilion. You exchange courteous words about the ground and the strength of the horses. There is no need for anger between you. The marks upon your shields are evidence of a measured encounter, and reputation may matter more than any single prize. Later, an announcement carries faintly across the field. Gifts, equipment, horses, or other rewards may be granted according to the host's custom, but there is no modern trophy waiting upon a raised platform. You listen without strain as your horse begins chewing quietly nearby. The slow grinding of the horse's teeth and the occasional rustle of hay are steadier than the voices beyond the pavilion. Afternoon light has warmed the edge of the canvas. Your breathing is calm now, and the difficult part of the day has passed. As the last announcements fade across the meadow, your squire gathers the shield and great helm. The groom remains with the horse, which stands quietly beneath its light covering, its breathing now slow and even. You leave the pavilion and follow the path toward the residence. Behind you, the sounds of the tournament grow softer with every step. Hoofbeats sink into the distance. The movement of banners becomes only a faint rustling in the wind. By the time you pass beneath the outer archway, the meadow already feels far away. The stone passage beyond is cool and dim. Your loosened mail moves softly over the damp padding as you walk, no longer sounding sharp or purposeful, but heavy and tired. A servant waits ahead with folded linen, while another carries a vessel of warm water carefully between both hands. Together, they lead you toward the private chamber prepared for your return. The chamber prepared for your return is simple and quiet. A basin stands near a wooden stool, with folded cloths arranged beside it, and a bench waiting for your clothing and equipment. Warmth rises faintly from the water, carried in only moments before. After the wind, voices and open space of the meadow, the stillness of the room settles gently around you. Your squire enters behind you with the shield and great helm, while a servant places the steaming vessel beside the basin. The door closes softly, leaving the distant tournament sounds beyond the thick walls. For a moment, you remain standing beneath the weight of the loosened mail. The shield is set against the wall, its fresh mark turned toward the light. Your sword belt and surcoat are laid upon the bench. Then your squire begins removing the armour in the reverse order from the morning, opening the buckles of the coat of plates one by one. With each small creak of leather, the pressure around your chest eases. With your squire's steadying hand, you bend forward and raise the hauberk over your head. The links slide across the padded garment with a long metallic whisper before settling heavily upon a folded cloth. Without their weight, your body feels almost strangely light. You straighten slowly and roll one shoulder, then the other. A bruise is beginning to show near the upper arm, and pale marks remain where buckles pressed into the padding. Your squire examines them with calm attention, then removes the remaining leg defences and spurs. Nothing is broken. There is only the familiar soreness of exertion. The equipment is arranged carefully, rather than dropped aside. Mail must be wiped and dried, damp padding spread out to air, and leather kept away from fierce heat that might harden or crack it. The fastening stretched during the course will need repair before it is trusted again. While your squire begins that work, the servant brings the warm water closer. You remove the linen worn beneath the armour, still damp where it clung to your back and shoulders. Cool room air reaches your skin, followed by the gentle warmth of a cloth across your face and neck. Dust lifts from your hairline and hands. A second cloth, dipped and wrung out, passes over your shoulders, chest, arms and back, easing the tightness left beneath the straps. Basins, ewers, cloths and warm water provide a practical washing after exertion without requiring a full immersion bath. A faint herbal scent rises with the steam. You sit upon the stool while your hair is combed and the last knots are worked free. Fresh linen waits upon the bench. The clean shirt feels cool and light against your skin. Fresh brays and fitted hose replace the damp garments of the field. Over them comes a well-fitted woolen coat, almost weightless after mail and padding. A belt is fastened around your waist, and your purse and knife return to their usual places. Soft leather shoes replace the heavier footwear of the tournament. A mantle remains nearby for the colder evening air. By the time you are dressed, the chamber has grown quiet. Mail, straps, padding, shield, gauntlets, and helm lie in ordered groups, waiting for patient care. Your squire remains behind to supervise the drying and inspection, while you follow a servant toward the great hall. Since morning, the residence has softened. Pale daylight gives way to firelight and candles, and shadows gather beneath beams and hanging textiles. Before you reach the hall, you smell roasted poultry, warm bread, herbs, sauce, wood smoke, and wax. The great hall is brighter than the surrounding rooms. though the light remains uneven. Candles tremble upon tables. A fire glows at one end, and painted plaster and household colours soften the walls. Guests take their places according to rank, with the host and greatest visitors at the high table, and others arranged below. You are shown to a place suited to your standing. Before sitting, you hold your hands above a basin while water is poured from a ewer. A clean cloth is offered, and around the hall, other guests do the same. Trestle tables carry bread, bowls, cups, knives, and spoons. There are no rows of modern forks. Many guests use their own eating knives, while spoons serve for pottage and sauces, and bread receives the juices of the meal. Only after you sit does the day's soreness fully reveal itself. Your shoulder remembers the shield, your hips the saddle, and the muscles of your back relax in slow stages beneath the warmth of the hall. The first dishes arrive: warm pottage, bread, and savoury poultry. Servants move steadily between hall, kitchen, pantry, and buttery, carrying food, filling cups, and clearing vessels. Lids rise with small clouds of fragrant steam, and bowls meet the tables with muffled sounds. You eat without hurry. The pottage carries herbs and softened grain. Bread tears beneath your fingers. Poultry is served with a sauce, richened by bread and seasoning. Later come pastries, cheese, and late summer fruit. Wine and ale are offered, along with water, and you drink modestly as warmth settles through you. Low conversation moves around the tables. Knights speak of horses, difficult ground, damaged equipment, and the riders they watched. A steady seat or a well-controlled horse earns as much respect as any dramatic fall. The voices rise only enough to be heard, then settle beneath the crackle of the fire. An announcement briefly draws attention toward the host. Praise is offered, and gifts or rewards may be named according to the custom of the gathering. Equipment, a horse, money, favour, or reputation, rather than a modern trophy. When the words are finished, the hall returns to its meal. For a while, a pipe and stringed instrument carry a quiet tune above the conversation. The musicians do not play continuously. When they stop, the movement of cups, the fire, and the soft scrape of benches become audible again. Beneath one bench, a dog rests with its head upon its paws until a fallen piece of bread draws it briefly to its feet. As evening deepens, wax gathers around the candle holders. Damp cloaks steam near the fire, and the stronger smells of roast food gradually give way to bread, wine, wool, and cooling ashes. You speak less now. The horse is resting, the armour is being cared for, and there is no ground left to study or signal for which you must listen. One guest and then another begins to rise. Servants clear bowls and cups. Conversations divide into smaller groups, and the hall slowly empties. Your squire returns with a quiet report. The horse has cooled well. Its legs remain sound, and it has accepted food and water. The tack is checked, and the armour lies where it may dry safely. A servant lights a lantern and leads you from the hall. Beyond the doorway, the corridor is genuinely dark. There are no torches burning in every bracket. The lantern shows only the floor ahead and the next archway before each disappears behind you. Outside, evening chill has settled over the courtyard stones. Near the outer gate, a wooden bar is lowered into place, its deep sound travelling through the quiet buildings. A watchman passes somewhere beyond the roofs, and from the stable comes the faint movement of a horse shifting in its bedding. Your chamber is ready. The shutters are closed. A single candle burns upon the table, and the wool blankets have been turned back. Fresh water waits in the basin, and the room smells gently of cooling wax, folded wool, timber, and the cool night held beyond the shutters. You remove the mantle, belt, and shoes. Your purse is checked and placed near the chest, while the sword remains close to the bed as it did before dawn. The evening clothes are brushed and folded rather than left upon the floor. You wash your hands and face once more. The water is cooler now, refreshing after the haul. While your squire finishes the chamber tasks, he speaks quietly of repairs, packing, and another examination of the horse in the morning. None of it requires attention tonight. A brief prayer closes the day. Then you draw your legs beneath the blankets. Linen feels cool against your skin, but warmth gathers quickly beneath the wool. Your bruised shoulder finds a comfortable place against the mattress, and the bed ropes yield slightly beneath your weight. The curtains are drawn partway around you, making the room smaller and more private. Beyond them, another door closes softly. Footsteps cross the passage and fade. A dog gives one distant bark. A horse moves once in the stable, then becomes still. The meadow is far beyond the walls now. Its ropes are damp again, the platforms empty, and the banners hanging quietly above the cooling grass. Nothing there requires your attention. Across the room, your squire shields the candle and extinguishes it. Darkness returns gently. Wind touches the closed shutters, followed by one distant bell, quieter than it was before dawn. The weight of armour is gone. The warmth of the hall has become the warmth of the blankets. Around you, the castle settles into stillness, until there is nothing left to follow but the slow rise and fall of your breathing.